Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics on Random. Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Of course, the chat's a bit late, but Mary Beth, how you doing? Mark, welcome aboard. Likewise is Vegan. Cindy, how you guys doing? We also have Mr. Patrick Mackner from Houston, Texas. Says meow. Lisa Blair is in from Atlanta, Georgia. And guess what? Guess what? Bruce, if you hadn't chimed in today, you would have been hearing from me, Mr. Bruce. Bruce is chiming in all the way from Minnesota via we know where. Anyway, how you guys doing? Hope everybody's fine. Nick, how you doing, buddy? Great to have you in the house. We are going to have a great show for you today. What are we going to talk about? Platner is doing exactly what I said all these Texas Republicans, right, Texas Democrats should be doing every time a hospital is closing, or if a hospital has already closed and it's shuttered up, or if it's going to close. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Whoa, it looks like I just saw the Substack flash. Are you guys seeing Substack flashing? If that's the case, it's not me. It's Substack. These guys have had, I guess, maybe growth problems or whatever. Lynette is in the house. Our traffic cop from Pennsylvania. Lynette Brittany is in from North Pennsylvania. I said it right this time. She says, Egberto. Yes, ma'am. We also have in the house, everybody's showing up. Hey, come on, start behaving yourself, Substack. We need you to kind of chill out and make sure we're sending you a clean signal that I can see going out to what's the name of the Restream.io is sending you the information just fine. Come on, guys, get your act together. We are going to start thinking it's a vendetta against those of us sending out the progressive message. Anyhow, guys, are you guys seeing any flashing? Okay, so MLR is seeing flashing in and out. Let me just tell you that worst case scenario, if it keeps doing that, you can watch the show at. Let me get the YouTube channel stuff all set up here because we're simulcasting in many areas. So let's see. I think this would be it. I am going to set it up. I'll give you the link, so in case that keeps going, I'll throw it into the chat. But let me go ahead and make sure that I have the right link here. Para ver, lo tengo. Vamos a ver si lo tengo ahora. Vamos a ver si lo tengo aquí también. Okay, if that keeps screwing up, I know we like the chat in Substack, but if that keeps screwing up, that is a link to the direct connection to Facebook. Okay, that also is showing the same program at the same time. Facebook works okay too. Oh, and Bruce is saying that Facebook is working on par, perfecto también. All right. Anyway, so I just gave you the Facebook link. Anyway, how are my peeps doing? Let's see. Leader Bearcat says, finally, real relief taxpayer empowerment. Governor says would rein in local government tax hikes and deliver long-term property tax relief. You know, you guys always talk about property tax relief. Then you complain about the potholes. Then you complain about low teacher pay. Then you complain about, let me tell you something. If you want a good government, you have to pay for a good government. And by the way, folks, I don't pay a lot of taxes right now because I don't make the kind of money I used to make before. But the kind of money I used to make before, the amount of taxes, a lot of you would think it's obscene. But you know what? You know what I always told myself? If I make enough money to pay quite a bit of taxes, wow, that is a great thing. Think about it. If you make enough money to owe a whole lot of taxes, that means you're doing very well. So stop complaining and stop running from taxes. Look at these billionaires are always trying to hide their money behind taxes for monies that they will never, ever, ever be able to spend. That these guys have some sort of a psychosis. I don't even know if that's a right psychological term. Bruce, you may have to ask Susan for me. She's the one who understands the mind. But it is ridiculous. Why are we so selfish for a country where it's doing so much for us. We're about to celebrate our 250th birthday, even with all the atonement that we have to do for all the wrongs that we have done. Is paying a little bit more all that bad? I don't think so. Paying a little bit more isn't all that bad. Anyway, Mr. K called into our KPFT this morning. He was talking about a chocolate company, a company that is making a chocolate substitute, and they had to decide if they were going to be going full capitalist or collective. And they, well, of course, they decided to go full capitalist. And he gave a good explanation this morning. Let me just tell you, Mr. K, I'm turning your thing this morning into a blog because you were so very well spoken in the research that you did. And likewise, the one from Uju, the commentary she had about lack of innovation, we will have that as well. Guys, go to if it's getting terrible, you can go to that link on YouTube. We are simulcasting on YouTube, Twitch, as well as Facebook Live. Okay. So there is a link that I just put out on the screen. I'll put it out again if you want to go watch it on whatever. All right. Lynette, this is Lynette from Substack. All right, Lynette, you're using a different name, but guess what? That's fine. That's fine. We also have KGB Maz. What is KGB Maz? Flow state. Okay. Okay, let's say easy to say when not your money paying, i.e. free college. No, let me tell you this. First of all, like I said, I have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars into taxes. Okay? So I think I've earned the right to say that if you're making a lot of money, that paying tax, there's nothing wrong with taxes. And just to make things clear, in the old days, when I had my company, etc., 15 years ago when I closed shop, for all practical purposes, that is, I made quite a bit of money, and I paid quite a bit of taxes. I haven't worked except doing this for the last 15 years, so I've bleeded all my stuff. I just want you to know so that you don't think I somehow have a stash. I ain't got no stash, okay? I used it all for this. This is what I believed in, and over 15 years, I've drained it. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is the following. When you're making very good money, you should have no problems paying your damn taxes, because this country afforded you the ability to make all that money. Many a times, not even necessarily equitably, because somebody could be sweeping a hell of a floor and doing a whole lot of stuff and not making the kind of money that you made. So no, Mr. Ali the Bearcat, it's not easy to say when it's other people's money. At one time, it was my money, paying a ton of taxes, just to let you know. All right. Let's just get busy here. It's interesting because Donald Trump is having a state fair on the mall. And if you listen to the radio where you can't see things, they would have you believe that a lot of people are showing up. Well, guess what? The damn thing is empty. Just showing you that people can make things up. But here is the worst part about all of this. The worst part about all of this is that now on TV screens, on video cameras, we have Fox News telling its audience that their eyes are deceiving them. Because even as they're saying how great things are, if you take a look at what's going on, it ain't so. Tell me it ain't so. Check this out.
We go. Moments that ask, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?
We're celebrating already at the Great American State Fair. Man, we've got thousands of people celebrating this birthday with us, Tommy.
As you've seen yourself, there is a big energy here on the National Mall. The crowd sizes were smaller in the morning. It has picked up quite a bit. The State Fair generating a lot of headlines, and we have seen more people come to see it for themselves, including right to the Ferris wheel. You'll zoom in here and see the crowds that are lined up for a chance to see Washington unlike any other way.
Well, it's a great day for Larry. Good afternoon. Perhaps now the closing bell is here. We're going to get more people coming out here now that work is done.
Such a fabulous setting and on such a grand occasion.
It really is great. People are having a great time here.
As you've seen here, people are there. They are showing up. They are here. They're just wearing their invisibility cloak.
They are just wearing their invisibility clothes. Let me show you what these people think about their audience. It's amazing. Now they are so convinced that they have their audience in the palm of their hands that even with the visuals that are terrible, they are out there telling them how full this place is. Let me tell you a little bit about 2010. In 2010, we had I was a part of on the board of the coffee party, and we had this big thing where we were bringing thousands of people to the West Mall at the Capitol, and we had all this stuff. And it turns out the day of the event we had a snowstorm, but we were out there in the snowstorm, the whole works, shebang, all that good stuff. But anyhow, we had a hard time getting the cameras to come out there from the major stations, even though we paid a lot of money for a publicist and all that kind of stuff. But every time we saw the cameras out there, there were with a small amount of tea party, or you may have 10 of them or whatever. And what they did is they got a close-up shot with people shouting. So when you watch it on TV, you're only seeing 10 people, but since all those 10 people take up the whole screen, your impression is that somehow it is really a lot of people out there. Well, it takes effort to do that, right? Because you have to get all those people together. You have to try to keep them together. And then you have the locutor, the person talking, has to be in front of these people long enough to do your news report, and then you can move on. Well. Fox News think its folks are so already embalmed in their stupidity, embalmed in fooling who they are, that they can just go ahead and we don't even have to bother to gather the people. Just show them an empty mall and say, there are a lot of people out here. You see the thousands of people out there. And as Katie Tur would say, I guess those thousands of people are wearing their invisibility suit, because that sure as hell out there were not a hell of a lot of people. Okay? There definitely wasn't a hell of a lot of people. Anyway, guys, and by the way, the telephone number is 281-823-7747. All my videos are short, so I can take calls if anybody want to call in and make their commentary. And I'd love some of you MAGA folks to call in. You're active on the keyboard. Defend your position live as we have a civil conversation. I would love to have that. But anyhow, what I've been speaking about. We know what the Affordable Care, or not the Affordable Care Act. We know what the big, beautiful bill that all the Republicans signed on to, or the vast majority of Republicans signed on to, what it did to America. And one of the problems with America is Americans like to suffer in silence. So they don't let out all the bad things that are happening all of the times, etc., etc., etc. Well, guess what? You have to bring it to them sometimes, right? And what I've been telling Texas Democrats is, with all these hospitals closing because of rural areas being defunded, it is imperative that if a hospital closes, you go out there with a posse, your news media, your independent media, etc. More than likely, the mainstream media is not going to come because the mainstream media is on the take. But you can get a whole lot of folks to come. And then what you do is you go out there and you start recording what's going on in the closure. And guess who has done that? El Señor Platner, Graham Platner. Check this out. At Shuttered Hospital, Platner accuses Collins of throwing gasoline on raging rural healthcare crisis. While Senator Susan Collins brags that she's secured money for rural hospitals, the funding is a pittance compared to the billions in Medicaid cuts she helped push through, said her Democratic challenger in Maine, that being Platner. Joined by medical professionals, patients, and local healthcare advocates, outside a hospital in central Maine that forced to shut down last year. Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Graham Platner on Wednesday highlighted the human impact of the crisis that he said Senator Susan Collins is actively making worse by prioritizing health insurance companies, big pharma, and private equity firms over Mainers, even as the Republican claims to bring crucial funds to the state's struggling rural hospital. She didn't bring a damn thing. Platner held a press conference outside the former Northern Lights Inland Hospital in Waterville, Maine, which closed last May, along with its associate primary care centers. The closure left roughly 5,000 patients without general practitioners and further away from an emergency department and inpatient care, as well as putting more than 300 local residents out of work. So she signed Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, and in the process got 300 people in that rural area laid off and 5,000 people without any real health care. Think about that, folks. That is what she did. The hospital system said last May that it was closing Northern Lights Inland due to rising operational costs, stagnant or reduced reimbursement rates, and a tight labor market with more competition for a smaller pool of qualified healthcare workers. A hospital official told Maine Public last year that the 48-bed facility was losing more than $1 million per month due to operating costs. Since Northern Light Inland closed, said Platner, Waterville Fire and Rescue has tripled its out-of-city ambulance transport as there is no regular public transportation between Waterville and Augusta, where the nearest hospital is. Patients who were once charged $50 for a ride to the hospital now have to pay, guess what? $400 to combat the combat veteran and Oyster former turned Senate candidate said, and a ride that is longer means higher mortality rates. In other words, if you have to travel farther to an emergency room, if you have to farther to for if you get hurt in an accident, of course more people are going to die. And that is exactly what is happening. Okay? Exactly what is happening. So again, what Platner is doing is he's showing his with that closed hospital, he's showing with the people that have lost their jobs, he's showing with the people that no longer have healthcare. And by the way, by closing that hospital, she has placed a tax on each patient who now must take an ambulance to a hospital further away. Instead of $50, $400, an 800% increase. I want you guys to think about that. I want you all to think about that. That is Republican policy making. And every single rural area should know that what's occurring to them. And look, you're going to have the sycophants that are going to do whatever they please. They are going to say to hell with it. I'll rather die than get some, than not make Elon Musk richer, even as he's dumping polluted rocket parts on the city. They don't care. But there are enough that care to make a difference. We consider ourselves lucky to get an appointment once a year for our annual checkups. Many of my friends and neighbors lost their doctors and are excruciatingly long waiting lists, said Mihalovic, so that adding that she no longer has access to women's health care and does not know where she will obtain her first mammogram after she turns 40 this year. Yeah, because Planned Parenthood, you know how they're defund that as well. Because my hospital closed, I no longer have any semblance of continuity of care available for me at this crucial time in my life, she said. For women, especially since we are very often not listened to, dismissed, or even believed by certain healthcare providers, especially when we see them the first time, continuity of care is crucial. Because our community hospital closed, it will take years for my family to establish care outside of our community. The big, beautiful bill Supposedly it wasn't to cut all this stuff, right? They lied to you. They said they were just taking out waste and fraud. I guess that whole hospital was waste and fraud, and not the $400 you're going to have to pay to get to the hospital anymore, right? Rural hospitals in Maine are projected to continue closing due to nearly $3 billion in Medicaid cuts that are expected to hit the state over the next 10 years. Cuts that were included in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, a law that included tax cut for corporations and the wealthy, and whose passage Collins helped ensure by casting a decisive vote to send it to the Senate floor. So yeah, I don't think they are going to re-elect somebody who has cost them so much money. The One Big Beautiful Bill is doing exactly what the experts warned it would do. It is throwing gasoline on a crisis that was already raging in Maine's rural hospitals. Think about that. Think about that. The Senate candidate emphasized that Collins voted to advance the bill out of committee one day after a private equity billionaire, Stephen Schwarzman, the chair of Blackstone and a man who will personally reap huge profits from the bill, gave $2 million towards her re-election campaign. So she sold her soul for $2 million, and the county loses $3 billion for her to make that $3 million in her campaign coffers. Tell me, folks. Tell me. MAGA, are you listening? MAGA, are you ashamed? MAGA, are you going to vote your interest for a change? She likes to brag, said Platner, that she uses her power to bring money to Maine to help the state, except that the money she brings is a pittance. It is a pittance in comparison to the money sucked out of the state through tax cuts for corporations and billionaires that she happily goes along with. I love this guy. Everybody wants to talk about what this guy did in his past. But this guy is not scared to confront these charlatanes, to confront these evil beings. He's not scared of doing that. He's not scared. All right. It is a pittance to the money sucked out of our system with forever wars that we send trillions to year after year that she has always supported. A pittance toward the billions of dollars in continue to send to Israel to fund a genocide in Gaza. Think about that. Think about that. The candidate who is a proponent of Medicare for all, meaning Platner is, added that people see through Collins' claims that she is a moderate Republican. She's not a moderate Republican at all. She's a Trump Republican. The idea that she stands up for the needs of Mainers over that of corporations is really laid bare with something just like Rural Health Transformation Program, Platner told Common Dreams. The numbers don't lie. It's very obvious that she's doing what she's doing. And I'm seeing in every single corner of the state and hearing from not just Democrats, but independents and Republicans who fundamentally understand that Susan Collins is someone who for decades now has represented not their interests, but the interests of those who donate the most money to her. And they're sick and tired of it. While Collins has boasted that the programs included the big beautiful bill is helping rural residents, the law is already harming millions of people across the country and making it harder for them to access crucial health care year after year. It was signed by President Donald Trump to protect our care. 3.8 million Americans have lost coverage since. 3.8 million Americans have lost coverage since. When your community no longer has access to high quality health care, it doesn't matter if you identify as a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. You have lost something that your community needs to survive, and you have lost it because establishment politicians like Susan Collins have for decades fought not for your community, have fought not for the needs of working Mainers, but have fought to protect the profits of health insurance companies, corporations, and private equity. All right, guys, it's not like we didn't tell you. We told you about this over and over and over and over. And some of you still went out there because of your all the isms you represent. You went out there and you still voted for against your own interests. And now I can guarantee you many of you would have loved ones who will ultimately die because of your vote. Many of you will ultimately die because of your vote. But hey, November is coming. You get a chance to atone in November. You get a chance to atone in November. If you think it's that Republicans don't really know what they're doing, or if you think there's some empathy that we are missing, if you think for some reason that, well, no, that's just a one-off, Susan Collins, she may have made a mistake, or what, let me tell you. All right, let me preface this way. Republicans don't care about their constituents. They simply care about their rich corporations, their rich constituents that can fund them and fund their future. The fact that so few of them truly understand what their rural, urban, and suburban constituents are going through is shameful and must be called out. And that is exactly what we're doing here, calling them out. Check out Nehls on this one.
This is a Texas member of Congress, Congressman Nehls, if I got that name
Troy
right.
Nehls. We have that
Troy
sound.
Nehls.
Why don't we just play it? I know what you're going to talk about. Let's play the sound.
How do House Republicans make the case that you're fighting for affordability when you go back to your districts?
Affordability? What are you talking about?
Affordability is the big...
I'm going to go there tomorrow. Over the 4th. I'm going to get me a couple big lobster tails. I'm going to get me some nice ribeyes. I'm going to sit in my backyard with my family, my neighbors. Prices got to come down. Don't take advantage of the American people. To me, it's almost criminal. So we got to do that. We have to do that. And I think that the overall goal and objective is to make sure Iran never has a nuclear weapon. So I'm okay with the increase in fuel because you knew it was going to happen with oil and the Strait and everything. But it's a temporary issue.
You think the 60% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck can afford lobster tails and ribeyes and all of that?
Maybe not. Maybe the 60% of America don't work as hard as I do.
I mean,
That's why you vote for Democrats.
do you think he's just trolling the reporter there?
No, I think he honestly believes that. I don't care who you are. If you're a member of Congress and you have people that you have to go back and talk to, do you say that?
No, if you have people that you have to talk to, you don't say that. But also, you don't say that, period. It behooves me that these Congress people think maybe it's because we work hard. These guys don't work hard. You know who work hard? Most of you watching me right now work hard. These guys are served. The hardest work they have is to make a telephone call that says, "Could you give me more money for my campaign?" That's the extent of their work. Because they don't even do the kind of research that those on the progressive side do. One of them had to be told, "Do not challenge Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in these committee meetings because she'll clean your clock. She studies, she's very well read, and she makes sure she knows the material." These yahoos, they don't do that. They don't go ahead and study. They don't figure out. They just go ahead and regurgitate talking points as you just heard him. Donald Trump says there's no affordability crisis, and as such, all these yahoos have to go out there and say There's no affordability crisis. And not only do they have to go out there and say there's no affordability crisis, but they go out there and mock the American people. I'm going to get my lobster. I'm going to get my steak. I'm going to put it on the grill and I'm going to sit back in my big house that the taxpayers are paying for. Because Nehls used to be a sheriff or a constable, one or the other, right? So he's always gotten paid from us, right? And now he's a congressman. We pay him there. And of course, he gets his kickbacks. We pay him there. So these guys talking about maybe they don't work as hard. You don't work. You don't work. All you do is vote to protect the wealthy corporations. And all of us here need to, every time one of these guys make these comments, we have got to call them out because our fellow MAGA folks, they don't understand what's going on half the time. Because you know what? They don't believe their eyes anymore. They don't believe their ears anymore. They use Trump is their eyes. Trump is their ears. Trump and his allies are their eyes and ears. So whatever they see with their own eyes, they disregard. They just look at what Trump tells them they're actually seeing. They only regurgitate that which what Trump tells them to say. It's sad, but that's the reality. It's something that we want to change. KGB man says, I'll be in jail if I call them. I hear you, buddy. I hear you, buddy. Let's see what this job my donors bought me in this seat and that lobster. There you go. Exactly right. Is it still blinking? Yep, it's still blinking. Look, guys, if you have problems with Substack, you can always come back and go to the YouTube channel, and that's YouTube channel right there. And while you're there, by the way, we take subscriptions at YouTube also. If you want to be so kind to hit that subscribe button or whatever you want to do there. All right, could not get me to live in city. Too much BS in Houston. BS in Houston. All of you that live around Houston depend on Houston. You can afford the home that you have outside of Houston because of Houston. You can afford to get the I love it, right? I remember I live in Kingwood, and Kingwood was its own municipal district. It was unincorporated. Houston wasn't a part of it or anything. And the people in Kingwood raised hell when Houston spoke about annexing Kingwood into the city limits, right? Because Houston wanted the Kingwood tax base, justifiably. And people screamed and they were on TV talking about they don't want to be entrapped by Houston and they don't want to be. What it was is at the time of annexation, Houston had a black mayor. And they just didn't want that. But interestingly, when it's 6 and 7 in the morning, all the buses are filled with executives and workers, etc. Guess where they're heading to? Houston. All the cars that are driving the freeway on I-69, also known as Highway 59, they're all heading to Houston. So here it is. They depend on what the city offered for their employment, but at the same time, they don't want to be annexed by Houston. They want to work in. When I tell you that we have a strand of selfish in this country from those that make a bit more, it is when I tell you that capitalism corrupts. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. Anyway, folks, the telephone number 281-823-7747. If anybody wants to call in, I don't have the other story I'm going to tell is also a written story. I don't have any more videos. Again, the telephone number is, una vez más lo voy a repetir. One more time, I'll repeat it. 281-823-7747. I want to talk about some good news out of Colorado, right? In Colorado, it turns out that a 15-year, let's see, E2247, Egberto, ignoring the elephant in the room and refusing to update us daily on U.S. Iran thing the past 126 days is nonsense for PDR Posse. Well, you're updating us now, E2247. Go ahead and type out something that you want me to. I talk about Iran every day. I talk yesterday. I played the piece that I did on WBAI. Come on, I tell you what. I am going to, since I don't have a lot of videos, and since E2247 just launched an unwarranted attack on yours truly, I try to do my best with all the information that I give. I'll play you, because I have space to do it today, no calls are in. I'll play you the piece that I did just yesterday on Iran, because no, sir, we actually cover what we do on Iran. So here you go.
Negotiations took place throughout last week between the U.S. and Iran, whose June 17th Memorandum of Understanding allows for a 60-day ceasefire under which a final peace deal can be reached. And between Israel and Lebanon in Washington, D.C., Hezbollah, the militant group within Lebanon, Israel says it is attacking, was not invited to the talks. However, the U.S. and Iran continue to trade strikes, as did Israel and Hezbollah throughout the weekend. The Supreme Court ruled on Thursday to end temporary protected status, that's immigration status, for more than 350,000 people from Haiti and 6,100 from Syria. This program has been historically used for residents whose home countries are temporarily unsafe to return to due to armed conflict, could potentially be eliminated in the wake of that decision, ending protection from deportation for an estimated 1.3 million additional immigrants. All of this is happening against the backdrop of 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence, America's founding document. Here to help us make sense of all of it is Laura Jadid, writer at firewalledmedia.com, an Army veteran, 2 tours in the war in Afghanistan, David Leventhal, Washington, D.C. correspondent, and the senior editor at Notice, and Egberto Willies, host of KPFT's Politics Done Right. Hello, and welcome to you all.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Egberto, we just heard in the Pacifica headline report that Israel attacked a village in Syria over the weekend. Should we be alarmed that additional countries are being brought into this conflict?
Not at all. I mean, we should not be alarmed of what. Let's separate Israel, Jewish folks from Netanyahu. It's very, very important, and I stress that often. We should not be surprised for anything that Netanyahu and his goons do. This is all there to destabilize the region, because they strive on destabilization. One of the reasons why, and I hear my good friend Jadid talk about how terrified we should be of Iran getting a bomb. I think it is becoming a time where we need to get back to the times of mad, mutual assured destruction, because I think that is the only thing in the Middle East that would slow down a rogue government, not specifically the people I'm speaking about, the rogue government, from going out there and destabilizing the area, and with that, destabilizing the entire world.
Scary times we're living in. I would imagine the private prison industry is very excited about this because they're likely to make quite a bit of money. Anyone want to comment to that?
Yeah,
he wanted to comment.
Dave is absolutely so right. But I mean, he mentioned something that's important. Some rulings are supposed to come down at 10 o'clock and thereafter. And some of it is sort of personal to me. When we talk about birthright citizenship as a naturalized United States citizen, all that sort of stuff matters to me. But it comes to the Supreme Court, I think the Supreme Court has really adapted who they really are, which is a Christian nationalist organization at this point in time. We look at the Haitians that come over to the United States. That is, the other country in Hispaniola. These are some of the hardest working people. They have gone into rural areas in this country and revitalized these areas with restaurants and shops and all these things, given employment. They have been a success in what they've done in the country, and we just said, okay, we know that we screwed up your rice industry in Haiti, that caused a whole lot of the migration here, but we are going to then go ahead and kick you out now that I think we would prefer this being a white nationalist country. I mean, it's appalling at our 250th anniversary, where we as a country have a lot to atone for. It is shameful. And I think more than anything else, it's an advertising to this country that, guess what? We are who we wanted to be for some time, but right now we are not who we are. We are not the people we advertised to be.
I think I love what you said, Laura, about how the people coming are high achievers. I love how that flies in the face of this administration's rhetoric about how they don't send their good people, that the people who are coming. These are people who, are coming over for various reasons and who are ready to work and make good and support their family in a law abiding way. And we have the numbers to back that up. So we, at least the listeners of WBAI and anyone on this show, is certainly not going to be, swept away by that kind of they don't send their best people rhetoric, and to think that they're not good people coming over here. Egberto, the White House press office posted about the decision that we're talking about. The quote is, "The Supreme Court has delivered a major victory for American sovereignty." That's the wording, ruling that the Trump administration has full authority to terminate temporary protected status for Haitian immigrants. What are your thoughts on this administration's argument that this is a victory for sovereignty?
Wow, it's sovereignty when we're talking about the United States of America. What is it when we talk about the Canal Zone area in Panama where the United States want to rule? Where does it concern about all the bases that we have in foreign countries where we have our own legal system that go over the system in the whatever country you're at? Where is the sovereignty when we talk about being in the middle of the Pacific or the Caribbean Sea, when we blow independent fishermen out of the waters? Sovereignty is a joke when we speak about it, because again, the country that most affects some other country's sovereignty, it's us. We have affected the sovereignty of everyone else. Look at Jamaica, who had to get rid of their Cuban doctors because the Americans didn't like that Cubans were over there providing a needed service. The Cubans that were sent out of Venezuela, the Cubans that were sent out of Grenada. We can go and talk about sovereignty. It only matters when we're talking about the United States in this government's opinion.
Egberto, another new poll, this one from AP Norc, found Americans' pride in the way democracy works in the U.S. has declined 14 percentage points, falling from 42% in February 2017 to 28% now. What do you think is behind this change? And can we actually know what this might mean, given the fact that, pride in one's country doesn't necessarily line up with party or, a political stance?
Absolutely. So I'm going to give a one answer statement, and then I want to pick up on something that Dave was talking about. One, capitalism has destroyed freedom, and in so doing, most Americans feel like they don't belong because now it's not about them. And whether all these new polls that talk about whether we are patriotic or whether we believe in America, I'm going to tell you something. I wouldn't be on the radio if I didn't believe in America. I love me some America. But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you that most people as well love America. They don't like Trump Americas. They don't like capitalist America. They don't like that America that is bleeding them dry. They love the America that we always talk about. They love the America that I saw when I was in Panama.
Thank you so much, Egberto. I'm afraid.
All right, so yes, sir, we do talk about Iran, and now with the issue about gas that you're talking about there, Mr. E2247, my brother, please do remember that we also wrote about that. Yeah, Donald Trump is going to try to coerce the oil companies. Remember, they gave him a lot of money, and they were expecting results. But he also can shut them down for now. That is, until somebody gets their revenge out of him. So, yeah, the gas prices. First of all, let's be clear here. The increase in the price of gas wasn't real. I just need to get that out. That increase in gas prices, and this is very important, folks, there is no shortage of oil. It's the shortages are regional. Okay? They're regional. The fact is that these oil companies are ripping us off left and right. And unless we attack Donald Trump and his sycophants, that is, all his Congress people, all his senators, all his local people in a holistic manner, what Donald Trump is ultimately could actually be able to do is do exactly what you just claimed he may partially be doing, coercing the prices of visible things. Immediately coerce the price of gasoline. People see that right away. Immediately come out and give some sort of a healthcare moratorium, etc. Okay? So let's be clear here. We have to take a completely holistic approach to how we campaign in 2026. Because if we simply campaign on the war in Iran, he stops the war and force companies to make things a little bit better, and we're fooled. We have to look at the totality. He's not only bad for the economy, not only bad for spending, not only bad for your health care. We have to look at all the different aspects that make Donald Trump in the totality a clear and present danger for all of us in all aspects of our life, because that is the truth. That is the reality. That is, in fact, the reality. I guess now, E2247, we're talking about the Cubs. All right. John Carter, how you doing, my brother? John Carter said, ding, ding, line in the pockets of fossil fuel industry. Exactly right. In fact, as I was traveling to Corpus Christi, I didn't realize how many wind farms we had south of let's say, the Dallas area, the Fort Worth area, and all these parts of Texas with the windmills. I didn't realize we had so many of them down south in Texas. And as I'm going through and seeing that, and my daughter recording the windmills, I find it ironic that Donald Trump is trying to stop their progress, right? Here we are, that it is something we would want, and he's stopping the subsidies for these guys. Amazing. Anyhow, folks, the telephone number 281-823-7747. One more time, I repeat, 281-823-7747. Give me a call. Let's see. Udi Deemer says, no ad is capable of being tailored to my interest, as my prime interest is eliminating ads. Okay. Lynette, I'll text you how to get emojis over there. Interesting. Thank you for that communication. We also have from, let's see, Paul Fleming says, Israel just triggered one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in modern warfare. A massive blast rocked the southern Lebanese village of Majdal Zaun, so powerful it triggered seismic monitors and was heard across the border in Israel. Israel called it a precise strike. The footage shows total annihilation, homes leveled in seconds. This was not a surgical hit. This was an obliteration. Do you know if they actually told people that they were going to hit the place? I mean, this government is such an evil government. It looks like I got some pictures on the screen. Let's see if I can get that blown up some. Wow, what the hell is that? Oh my God, what is? Let's put that on so people can see it. Did you verify this stuff? I'm going to show it, but I don't like showing with AI and all of that out there. I don't necessarily like to show these things, but I'm going to. Let's go ahead and show that. enough of that. Let me ask you, Paul Fleming. I know you found that on Threads. Did you corroborate that or not, folks? You know, we try to stay uh, as corroborative as not the truth hides the real bad stuff. Okay, let's see. I'll have to go ahead and check that out. Did you say that it's not the truth, Pollard? Because if that's the case, I'm going to cut it out of the video that I put out for podcasting. I'll go ahead and research it before I put out the video because, like I said, I don't want. We need to be accurate. Oh, we got a limerick, guys. We've got a limerick from El Señor Tom Zornick. Let's get busy with Tom Zornick's limerick. Here we go. All right. First read. Ready, guys? First read. With every Democrat and Rhino to Trump has a feud. Enemies who won't bow down to him are often sued. To women and people of color, he's nasty and rude. His untruth social posts reflect his perpetual bad mood. Like the oil he loves, his comments are nasty and crude. You'd think an octogenarian, he'd now be a humanitarian. But he's still an authoritarian, a barbarian, a totalitarian. Who treats the rest of us like cattle in Texas, infested with worms that are screwed? Oh my God, that's a good one. I love that. You struck again. Let's see. John Carter says Al Jazeera has that video on their site. The same video. Okay, I gotta validate that. I gotta validate it because I can't look. The criminality that's being done is sad, but we want to make sure and validate information as it really is in fact occurring, and I must validate that. Okay, let's see what else we got here. What time is it? We're at 3:56. Okay, thank you for the Al Jazeera link. I'll also go ahead and validate it. The thing about it is, Al Jazeera has had so much better news as far as and look, some people say, well, you like Al Jazeera's news because it gives your point of view. No, no. Al Jazeera, I look at all news channels critically, newspapers and everything critically. And what I try to bring to you as an audience, as I aggregate some of this stuff, is stuff that I have a fairly good certainty of it being correct. Because the last thing I want is to lose credibility with you or with anybody else. The last thing I want to lose is credibility. And John Carter just provided a more substantive link with the explosion. Yeah, thank you, John. You're right. It gives the facts not tainted by U.S. corporations. That is very true. So anyhow, we are at the closing hour of the program. If anybody wants to give me a quick call, you know the number, 281-823-7747. 281-823-7747. And by the way, that was a great limerick, Senor Zarnik, as usual. Great limerick. Anyhow, folks, we're getting ready to shut down. Please remember, this is a program that needs your support, and you know how to do that. Please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, or if you're on Substack already, just hit that subscribe button and become a paid subscriber. We need it so very badly, but again, we need it. Thank you for that. E2247. Let me just say something I want to tell you about this morning. I got a minute to tell you this. This morning in our program, we had two great calls. Well, all of our calls are great, but I mean two that I'm expanding on. One of them came from Mr. K, and the other one came from Uju. And these two people went ahead and they gave researched opinions that actually tonight I'm going to try to turn each of them into their separate blogs, because that's how informative I think they were. This is your program. And if you want me to promote or say something or talk about something, You don't have to be. You don't have to malign the program at the time. Just say, Egberto, will you cover this? And if you don't have my attention, keep telling me till you get my attention, because I got a lot of screens going here, a lot of screens, a lot of windows, so I don't see everything. But I am responsive, and I want to make sure that we are covering, in fact, things that need to be covered. All right, E2247. So again, this is your all's program. Let's get busy and let's get it done. Anyway, it's 4 o'clock, and I got to get out of here. Don't forget, support the show, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, or hit that subscribe button. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. You guys know how I end this baby. How do I end it again? How do I end it again? I am. Oh, hold on. You see, now you're gonna say, brother E2247 now says you're spread too thin. Brother, no, I'm not spread too thin. There's a lot happening. All our people are spread thin. There's so much happening all at the same time. I can't afford to be spread thin. Okay, we got to, and there's no focus. While some people's focus are on Iran, there are other people's focus in that they can't get their cancer treatment. There are others focus that they can't get a whole lot of stuff. So I understand your focus on Iran and Israel. I get it. But other people have other focus too, and we must spread ourselves thin to make sure we can serve everybody. Anyway, let's close it down. My name is Egberto Willies. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!